There comes a time in every person's life when they realize that what they accepted was not love, not respect, not value, but crumbs. They mistook attention for affection, inconsistency for mystery, and silence for peace. The world, in its haste to chase illusions, often teaches us to tolerate less than we deserve. And yet, when you finally walk away from the one who gave you only fragments of their presence, something unexpected happens. The very person who once offered you crumbs begins to crave what they so easily discarded. Such is the paradox of human nature, and such is the lesson of detachment the Stoic must understand deeply. The Stoic does not measure their worth by another's neglect. When someone gives you only crumbs, it is not a reflection of your value, but a reflection of their capacity. You cannot pour wisdom into a cracked vessel, nor can you demand depth from a shallow soul. Many seek control through scarcity. They believe that withholding is power, that indifference is superiority. But those who rely on such illusions are slaves to their own ego, for true mastery over oneself is not found in manipulation, but in harmony with reason. When someone treats you as an option, it reveals not only their lack of vision, but their lack of understanding of what is truly valuable. To the one governed by impulse, the consistent heart seems dull. To the one addicted to chaos, peace feels like emptiness. So they wander, offering crumbs to those who deserve bread, unaware that the feast they neglect will one day be beyond their reach. And when the feast is gone, they will hunger not for you, but for the power they once felt over you. They will hunger for control, for validation, for the echo of your presence. But by then, you will have transcended their reach. The Stoic path teaches us not to seek revenge in their regret. The wise do not gloat over the downfall of the foolish. To rejoice in another's obsession is to tie yourself once again to their chains. Let them be haunted by what they have lost, but you remain free. Freedom is not achieved by walking away, it is achieved by never looking back. What you leave behind does not define you, what you carry forward does. There is a quiet dignity in restraint. When the heart desires justice, the mind must remind it that the universe already balances all things. You need not wish for the one who gave you crumbs to suffer. Their own emptiness will teach them more than your words ever could. The Stoic understands that every soul must face the mirror of its actions. Those who withhold will one day be withheld from. Those who play with hearts will one day beg for the steady warmth they once mocked. And those who gave only crumbs will one day be starved for the feast they refused to share. To accept crumbs is to live in scarcity of spirit. It is to forget that your worth is not determined by another's perception. The Stoic rejects such dependency. If another cannot see your value, it changes nothing about who you are. The sun does not beg to be noticed, it shines regardless. The tree does not despair when someone fails to rest in its shade. It continues to grow. So must you continue to live by virtue, regardless of who chooses to appreciate it. Let them misunderstand you, let them undervalue you, let them go. For when you remain unmoved, you become the mirror through which they finally see their own smallness. It is a natural law that what is neglected loses interest, and what is lost gains desire. The mind craves what it cannot control. When you detach, when you no longer react, when your peace no longer depends on their attention, the balance shifts. They who once believed themselves superior begin to feel inferior. They who once thought they could return and will now find the door closed. This is not vengeance, it is consequence. And yet, the Stoic must not delight in consequence. To delight in another's longing is to prove that you have not yet mastered your own. The world confuses obsession with love. But obsession is not love. It is the shadow of regret. When the person who gave you crumbs becomes obsessed, it is not because they have found new affection for you. It is because they have discovered a void within themselves. They miss not your presence, but the reflection of control they once held. They crave not your soul, but the sense of significance they felt when you accepted less. This is the sickness of ego, and the Stoic must recognize it without resentment. It is not your duty to cure another's emptiness. Each must confront their own. You cannot awaken a heart that prefers to sleep. You cannot teach generosity to one who worships scarcity. The Stoic's task is not to fix others, but to govern the self. What does it matter if another awakens too late? The one who lives by reason does not wait for recognition. They remain steadfast, walking forward without bitterness, because peace is found not in justice, but in acceptance. Understand that those who offer crumbs often fear the feast. To give wholly is to risk being seen. To love deeply is to be vulnerable, and the cowardly soul fears both. They hide behind games, withholding silence, thinking themselves clever. But they do not deceive the wise, for what they call strength is merely the mask of weakness. What they call mystery is simply avoidance, and what they call control is nothing but fear of losing what they do not even cherish. So when you walk away, walk without anger. Do not slam the door, for noise is the language of the unsettled. Leave in silence, for silence speaks the truth of composure. Let them see not your fury, but your absence. Let them wonder, not what you feel, but how you became so still. The calm soul unsettles the manipulator, for they cannot grasp what they cannot disturb. To be unmoved by neglect is the highest power. To remain kind despite betrayal is the highest discipline. You must remember, the one who gave you crumbs believed you would never leave. They believed your need outweighed your wisdom. But when you finally choose peace over chaos, they lose their illusion of control, and the absence of control becomes their greatest torment. Their obsession is not love reborn, it is ego unmasked. Let them wrestle with that lesson. You, however, must not return, for to return is to teach them that your boundaries were temporary. The Stoic does not reopen doors that were closed for peace. There is no bitterness in letting go, there is only clarity. The wise do not chase closure from the unwise. Closure is not given. It is created by understanding. You do not need them to understand your worth. You only need to understand your own. The one who could not appreciate you when you were near will romanticize you when you are gone. But nostalgia is not transformation. Do not confuse their longing with growth. True change is rare, and time will reveal whether it exists. The Stoic observes this without attachment, knowing that time is the ultimate teacher. Remember that to need validation from another is to surrender sovereignty over your peace. Do not measure your growth by whether they regret losing you. Their regret is not your reward. Your reward is serenity, the quiet confidence that you no longer seek what once diminished you. Let their obsession serve as proof not of your worth, but of your wisdom in leaving. For even the blind recognize light once it is gone. In every ending, there is a beginning. The Stoic does not see rejection as loss, but as liberation. What you lose when you walk away from crumbs is not nourishment but illusion. You do not lose love, you lose the distraction that prevented love from finding you. Every withdrawal from falsehood creates space for truth, and so you walk lighter, not because the world has changed, but because your perception has. Those who gave you little will often accuse you of expecting too much. But expecting respect, consistency, and honesty is not greed, it is virtue. To ask for clarity is not arrogance, it is wisdom. The Stoic knows that self-respect is not pride but alignment with nature's order. Nature gives fully. The sun withholds not its light, the sea withholds not its waves, and the tree withholds not its shade. Why then should you accept from another what even nature refuses? Half-heartedness. Do not despise them for what they could not give. Pity them, perhaps for their poverty of spirit. But even pity must be quiet, for the wise do not linger on the faults of others. They tend instead to the cultivation of their own soul. Every wound they caused was an invitation to grow in patience, in restraint, in understanding. They taught you what you will never again accept. In that their purpose is fulfilled. Be grateful, even for the pain, for it became the chisel that shaped your strength. When the one who gave you crumbs returns, they come not because they have changed, but because they seek to restore the dynamic that once fed their ego. The Stoic meets such moments with calm discernment. You owe no explanation, no defense, no anger. You owe only truth, and truth spoken without bitterness has the power to end all illusions. Say little, act less, and let your absence continue to speak the wisdom your words once tried to explain. Understand that to live by Stoic virtue is to master indifference to external approval. The one who gave you crumbs will study your silence like a riddle. They will analyze, project, and fantasize, for the mind that thrives on control cannot accept not knowing. They will imagine you bitter, or lonely, or regretful, for to believe you are free would shatter their illusion of importance. But you need not defend your peace. Let them believe what comforts them. The truth requires no advertisement. The greatest revenge is inner stillness. When you no longer explain yourself, when your peace no longer needs justification, when your silence carries more weight than their excuses, you have won. But even victory is not the aim, peace is. The Stoic does not triumph over others, but over the self. Every reaction withheld is a victory of discipline. Every attachment released is a triumph of wisdom. Every silence chosen is the mark of strength. Do not return to familiar pain out of sentiment. The past has already taught its lesson. To revisit it is to deny the learning. The Stoic accepts endings as part of nature's flow. What was once useful may now be harmful. What was once comforting may now be corrosive. Wisdom is knowing when to release. And release, though painful, is the purest expression of love for oneself. Let them become obsessed if they must. Let them remember the steadiness they once took for granted. But you, remain unaltered, for obsession cannot touch what is at peace. They may circle your memory, replay your words, romanticize your calm, but they will find no entry. For peace is a fortress built on reason, and no desire can breach its walls. The Stoic remembers that life's balance is inevitable. What you give returns to you in kind, though not always from the same source. If you gave kindness, it will find you again, though perhaps from another heart. If you offered honesty, truth will surround you once more. But if another gave deceit, they too shall receive confusion. This is not punishment, it is harmony. The universe requires balance, not vengeance. When you rise above pettiness, you remind the world that not all strength must roar. Some strength is silent, steady, unshaken. Some strength is simply walking away with grace, refusing to let pain make you bitter. The one who gave you crumbs will one day wonder how you survived without them. Let them wonder, for the answer lies not in explanation, but in evolution. You have learned that peace is not given, it is chosen. And the moment you stopped begging for crumbs, you reclaimed your throne. You became sovereign over your emotions, ruler over your reactions. And in that sovereignty, obsession has no hold. The one who gave you little will now chase shadows of what they once dismissed. They will look for your calm in chaos, your steadiness in noise, your virtue in vanity, and find none of it. Because those things were not given by you, they were revealed through you. And revelation cannot be imitated. Do not seek to be remembered. To be remembered by the unwise is to remain trapped in their story. Seek instead to live rightly. To live with reason, courage, temperance, and justice. The rest will follow. Let them write their regrets in silence while you write your peace in action. The Stoic needs no audience for their composure. For composure is its own applause. And when the day comes, as it always does, when their obsession fades into resignation, when they accept that you will not return, you will have already forgotten that they once mattered so much. Not from arrogance, but from growth. The memory of crumbs becomes meaningless when one has feasted on wisdom. You will look back not with anger, but with understanding. For every soul must walk the path it chooses, and every choice carries its shadow. Thus, let them end where they began, with emptiness, and let you continue where you belong, in peace. When the heart has learned stillness, the noise of the world no longer disturbs it. Yet the world will always test this silence. The person who once offered you crumbs will return, not because of transformation, but because the silence you left behind disturbs their conscience. They will mistake absence for invitation, hoping that your calm is weakness. But a Stoic knows that calmness is not absence of power, it is power mastered. To remain unmoved when provoked is greater strength than to conquer a city. They may call you cold, they may call you indifferent, but they cannot comprehend that peace is not numbness, it is clarity. You no longer crave reaction, because you have seen what reaction costs. Your energy, your composure, your time. The one who gave you crumbs fed on your responses. They measured their worth by your attention. When that attention is gone, they crumble because their identity was built upon control. Such people do not truly live. They perform, and when the audience leaves, they do not know who they are. Let them face that stage alone. It is not cruelty, it is justice. Many fear being forgotten, but the Stoic understands that to be forgotten by the unwise is liberation. Why desire remembrance from those who never truly saw you? Why crave recognition from eyes that were blind to your value? The wise do not mourn being unseen by fools. They mourn only when they forget their own principles. What matters is not who remembers you, but what you remember of yourself. The world may forget your name, but your virtue remains immortal within your own soul. The one who gave you crumbs will not understand this freedom. They will mistake it for pride, but it is not pride. It is alignment with reason. Pride seeks to prove worth. Reason knows worth needs no proof. When you cease explaining, defending, or persuading, you have reached mastery. You no longer chase closure because you have realized closure is not a conversation, but a decision. It is the silent recognition that nothing more needs to be said. Sometimes, when you walk away, you may feel the echo of attachment pulling at you. The mind may whisper, perhaps they will change, perhaps this time will be different. But remember, hope without evidence is not virtue, it is self-deception. The Stoic's heart is compassionate but disciplined. To hope for another's growth is noble. To sacrifice your peace for their potential is folly. You are not the savior of those who refuse to save themselves. Every relationship reveals the state of our inner world. The one who gave you crumbs entered your life, not merely to wound you, but to awaken you. They showed you where you were willing to settle, where your boundaries were weak, where your longing overpowered your logic. The Stoic takes every pain as instruction. What was denied to you externally was meant to be found internally. They withheld affection, you learned self-affection. They withheld respect, you built self-respect. They withheld consistency, you cultivated inner steadiness. What they withheld became your lesson, and your lesson became your liberation. Do not curse the ones who mistreated you. They are your teachers in disguise. Without their emptiness, you would not have discovered fullness within yourself. Without their indifference, you would not have found independence. Without their withdrawal, you would not have learned detachment. The universe uses pain to polish the soul. What you once called betrayal was simply redirection. What you once called rejection was protection. And what you once called loss was preparation for truth. Understand that obsession is the shadow of neglect. Those who disregard you when you are near must chase you when you are gone, for they have awakened too late. Their mind torments them with memories they once dismissed. But this torment is not your concern. You are not the custodian of their remorse. Their suffering is the echo of their choices. Every neglectful act returns as longing. Every moment of arrogance returns as humility. Such is the natural rhythm of the moral universe. The Stoic trusts this balance without interfering. You may one day see them again, perhaps on a street, perhaps in memory, perhaps in silence. When you do, meet them with calm eyes, not with coldness, but with equanimity. To forgive does not mean to return. Forgiveness is the release of bitterness. Reconciliation is the renewal of trust. You may forgive completely and still walk away permanently. The Stoic forgives for peace, not for reunion. What has ended need not begin again. Let your silence speak of the distance between who you were and who you have become. Once you sought their approval, now you seek only inner truth. Once you begged for crumbs, now you create abundance within. The one who gave you little will never understand how much they gave by withholding, for their absence became your awakening. What they meant for diminishment became the soil of your growth. The wise understand that no one can truly take from you what is essential. They can deny you attention, but not worth. They can reject your presence, but not virtue. They can mock your patience, but not diminish your discipline. Every slight against you becomes proof of your endurance. The Stoic does not measure value in outcomes, but in conduct. You cannot control whether others are just, but you can always control whether you remain just. In the quiet of reflection, you will realize that the one who gave you crumbs was never your enemy. Your true adversary was attachment. The belief that peace could be found in another's approval. When you released that belief, their power vanished. What once felt like love was merely dependence. What once felt like pain was simply the breaking of illusion. You did not lose them, you lost your blindness to what was real. That is victory, not defeat. And if they still speak of you, let them. Let them weave stories to justify their conscience. Truth requires no defense, and lies collapse beneath their own weight. You need not correct their version of events. To argue with the unwise is to play chess with a storm. The board will be swept away before reason prevails. Simply live so that your peace exposes their falsehood more clearly than your words ever could. In time, their obsession will become sorrow. Their sorrow will become reflection. And perhaps, if the universe wills it, reflection will become wisdom. But whether they reach that wisdom or not is no longer your concern. You have learned yours. You have learned that love without virtue is illusion, that attachment without respect is bondage, and that the self ungoverned by reason will always suffer. In this knowledge, you have found freedom. Freedom is not the absence of feeling, it is mastery over feeling. You still care, perhaps, but you no longer cling. You still remember, but without ache. You still hope for good for them, but from afar. This is the serenity of the Stoic, to live among the storms of human passion and remain unbroken. To walk through the ashes of what once burned and still see beauty in the sky. You will meet many who offer crumbs, not from malice, but from fear. Some fear love because it demands exposure. Others fear giving because they equate generosity with weakness. Many fear commitment because it removes escape. Do not hate them for their fear, but do not join them in it. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-destruction. To love wisely is to give freely, but never foolishly. You may find yourself tempted to prove that you were worthy of more. But remember, to prove is to beg in disguise. The Stoic seeks no vindication, only alignment with nature. Let your peace be your proof. The one who gave you crumbs will witness your tranquility and understand, though perhaps not in words, that they misjudged a treasure. Yet even this understanding need not concern you. For the wise do not shine to be seen, they shine because light is their nature. When the heart is disciplined by philosophy, it no longer fears solitude. You will learn to enjoy your own company more deeply than any shallow connection. You will walk through days of silence without loneliness, for you have discovered that stillness is not emptiness, but fullness unshared. And in that fullness, you will attract only those who can meet you in depth. The one who gave you crumbs will no longer belong to your world, for their hunger is of a different kind. The Stoic knows that time reveals all things. You need not rush justice. The universe has perfect memory. Every action plants a seed, and every seed bears fruit according to its nature. Those who sow scarcity reap regret. Those who sow deceit harvest confusion. Those who sow neglect gather emptiness. But those who sow virtue, patience, and truth, they walk in peace regardless of the season. If ever you doubt whether leaving was right, look not at what you lost, but at what you gained: stillness of mind, clarity of heart, dignity of self. The one who gave you crumbs took from you only illusions. The real was never theirs to take. You have lost nothing but chains, and the soul that loses its chains gains wings. Let them wander through memories seeking what cannot be returned. Let them attempt to replace what they cannot recreate. You, however, need no replacements. You have become whole within yourself. When the heart ceases to need what harms it, obsession cannot touch it. When the mind ceases to crave control, manipulation loses meaning. This is the ultimate lesson. Mastery of the self is the end of all suffering. And should their obsession one day turn to apology, meet it with grace. Accept it not as reconciliation, but as confirmation that virtue always prevails. The one who gave you crumbs will now see that generosity of spirit cannot be faked, that love without presence is emptiness, and that the soul that withholds ultimately starves itself. Their hunger is the mirror of your peace. Do not feed it with attention. Let them learn hunger's purpose, to drive them inward toward their own awakening. Thus the circle completes itself. You began with longing, you end with wisdom. You began with seeking, you end with knowing. You began needing another's approval, you end needing only truth. The one who gave you crumbs will continue searching for what they once dismissed, chasing reflections, clinging to illusions, mistaking obsession for meaning. You will simply watch, not with malice, but with the serene compassion of one who understands that all souls must learn through consequence what they refuse to learn through counsel. In the quiet of evening, when the mind recalls the past, you may smile, not in triumph, but in peace. You have learned that love without boundaries is servitude, and detachment without bitterness is freedom. The one who gave you crumbs has become a memory, and you have become yourself again. You have walked through the storm and discovered that calm was not at the end of the path. It was within you all along. And so, you remain steady. The world will continue to test you, people will continue to disappoint. But disappointment no longer shakes you, because expectation no longer binds you. You give where it is deserved, withdraw where it is wasted, and rest where it is peaceful. The one who once fed you scarcity now feeds your wisdom by contrast. And in this balance, you find beauty. For even the unwise serve the wise by revealing what not to be. Such is the way of the Stoic heart. It neither clings nor condemns, neither begs nor boasts. It observes, understands, forgives, and moves on. Ever calm, ever free, the universe does not forget. Every action echoes through the corridors of time, though it may move in silence. Those who think they have escaped the weight of their deeds do not understand the laws that govern existence. To the unwise, justice seems delayed. To the wise, it is inevitable. The one who gave you crumbs may believe they have moved on untouched. But the universe is a perfect accountant. It records everything, and nothing escapes its balance. There is no punishment greater than living out of harmony with nature. When one gives less than they are capable of, they plant seeds of emptiness. When one manipulates rather than nurtures, they sow distrust in their own soil. For every deceit, confusion blooms. For every cruelty, loneliness takes root. Nature's justice is subtle. It does not strike like lightning, but it corrodes from within. The person who lives unjustly begins to feel disquiet in moments of stillness. They cannot rest, for their soul is divided against itself. The one who offered you crumbs will one day seek fullness, and they will find none. They will turn to others, but every face will mirror the truth they avoided. The very things they withheld, affection, patience, honesty, will now be withheld from them. Not out of malice, but because the world reflects what it receives. You cannot cheat harmony. You may deceive a person, but never the pattern of life itself. To give half is to receive half. To act from ego is to attract isolation. The Stoic knows this not through superstition, but through reason. Every cause bears its consequence, just as every shadow follows the body that casts it. No one escapes the nature of their actions. The liar must live with distrust, for they believe all others lie. The manipulator must live with anxiety, for they fear being manipulated. The neglectful must live with longing, for they have trained their heart to starve. The universe does not curse them. It merely allows them to experience themselves. There is no need for you to wish for their downfall. Life itself will complete the work. You must instead focus on your own virtue. For if you secretly delight in their suffering, you have bound yourself again to the same chain that once held you. Your heart must remain light, even when justice is served. Watch not with glee but with understanding, for what befalls them is what would have befallen you had you not chosen to walk away. It is a humbling truth that the harm others do to us often becomes their own teacher. The one who gave you little did not understand that they were teaching you abundance and teaching themselves loss. You learn to value presence, they learn to crave it. You learn to give without attachment, they learn to desire without peace. The same moment that freed you enslaved them, for you acted from awakening and they from arrogance. The universe, impartial and patient, simply returned to each what was earned. Those who withhold love become strangers to it, Those who use others as mirrors of ego eventually face mirrors with no reflection. Those who chase admiration lose authenticity, and authenticity is the soul's only true nourishment. They who cannot sit in honesty with themselves will seek distraction in others. But distraction is not deliverance. Their life becomes a series of escapes, each shorter than the last, each leaving them emptier than before. Do not imagine the universe cruel for allowing this. Compassion exists even in consequence. Nature teaches through contrast, fullness after emptiness, peace after restlessness, understanding after loss. The pain they experience is not punishment, but invitations, an invitation to change. Yet most will resist the lesson. They will call it bad luck, betrayal, fate, anything but justice. For to see truth, one must first accept guilt, and few are ready for that humility. When you observe this unfolding, remain detached. You will see them return, perhaps with softer words, perhaps with sorrow. Their eyes will seek reassurance, not redemption. They may apologize, but apology without awareness is only performance. The Stoic forgives, but does not forget the pattern of cause and effect. If you re-enter the same imbalance, you interfere with the universe's correction. Let them walk their path. You have walked yours. In time, the scales will balance completely. The one who gave you crumbs will meet another who gives them the same. Not out of revenge, but reflection. They will feel the confusion they once caused, the longing they once ignored, the silence they once imposed. When this happens, do not rejoice. Rejoicing in another's suffering is ignorance disguised as justice. Simply acknowledge that the lesson has returned to its source. The wise watch the wheel turn without grasping at it. Consider this: when fire burns carelessly, it consumes itself. When water floods recklessly, it erodes its own banks. So it is with the ungoverned heart. Its destruction comes from within. Those who live unjustly suffer, not from what is done to them, but from what they do to themselves. Their choices become their tormentors. They cannot rest, for conscience is never silent. It whispers in the pauses of pleasure and shouts in the silence of the night. You must understand that justice in nature is rarely immediate. The fruits of virtue grow slowly, as do the thorns of folly. The one who gave you little may appear to thrive for a while. They may seem untouched, even happy. But appearances are temporary, essence endures. The storm takes time to gather, and peace takes time to root. Do not be deceived by what is seen. Trust the unseen order, for it never fails. The wise man once said, "No man escapes his character." Indeed, it is not circumstance but nature that binds or frees us. If a person is deceitful, their world becomes deceitful. If they are shallow, their relationships become shallow. They attract mirrors of their own soul until they can bear to look no longer. This is not divine anger. It is moral geometry. The angles always align. When you live rightly, you need not demand justice. Your very life becomes its own reward. Peace follows you as naturally as shadow follows light. The one who gave you crumbs will sense this peace and misunderstand it. They will think it indifference, perhaps arrogance, but deep within, they will feel the truth, that they are facing the consequence of imbalance. Their restlessness is not caused by your departure. It is caused by their own misalignment with virtue. In their loneliness, they may try to fill the void with distraction, new faces, new pleasures, new pursuits. But none will quiet the noise within, for the void they feel is not from losing you, but from losing integrity. Every act of dishonor leaves a wound that cannot be healed externally. They will look outward for what can only be mended inward. Until they face themselves, the cycle continues. The Stoic sees this clearly and feels no malice. For the wise, even justice is compassionate. To wish harm upon another is to misunderstand harmony. Balance is not revenge, it is restoration. What returns to them is what must return, so that they may remember what they forgot. That peace cannot coexist with deceit, that love cannot coexist with manipulation, that abundance cannot coexist with withholding. You too have a role in this balance. By refusing to accept less, you participate in the moral correction of the world. Every time a person stands in self-respect, they teach others the limits of exploitation. Every boundary you set strengthens justice itself, for justice is not a distant force. It lives through each of us. When you refuse crumbs, you affirm truth. When you walk away without hatred, you affirm virtue. And virtue, once affirmed, always ripples outward. So let them reap what they have sown, and let you continue sowing what is good. Do not linger near the field of their regret. Walk onward into fields of peace. Your harvest is not theirs. The fruit of your restraint, your patience, your dignity will appear in time, quietly, abundantly, without announcement. Those who plant in virtue never plant in vain. The universe does not rush. Justice may seem delayed, but delay is mercy. It allows understanding to bloom before correction arrives. The one who gave you crumbs is being taught even now, though they may not yet see it. Their sleeplessness, their restlessness, their sudden nostalgia, these are the whispers of the cosmic teacher, reminding them of what they once ignored. You need not intervene, the lesson is underway. Remember too that you are not exempt from this law. The moment you act without virtue, the same balance applies. The Stoic's peace comes not from believing he is above others, but from remembering he is bound by the same order. Thus he walks carefully, speaks thoughtfully, and loves wisely. For to act unjustly is to wound the soul, and to act justly is to heal it. Let the one who gave you crumbs live in their lessons, and you in your liberation. For each receives according to their nature. You will not always see the justice unfold, but you will feel it in the quiet of your days, in the serenity of your nights. When you are no longer disturbed by their absence, you will know balance has been restored. When you can wish them peace sincerely, even as they face consequence, you will know wisdom has completed its work. The universe corrects all things in time. The foolish call it fate, the wise call it alignment. What is misused decays, what is hoarded diminishes, what is neglected vanishes, but what is given rightly multiplies. Such is the eternal rhythm, simple, impartial, and unstoppable. So let them drift into their reckoning, not as an enemy, but as a lesson still unfolding. Their obsession is their mirror. Their longing is their teacher. You have no need to look back, for the justice of nature has already moved through you, leaving in its wake not bitterness, but peace.